Hi, this is me at the age of 16. This is me at the age of 10, which was the age I was when I watched Forrest Gump for the first time. So this was the first movie that actually made me sob, like nose blowing, scream crying, the whole 9 yards. It's a cliche, but I like to think this movie changed my life. So Mr. Hilferty says, you have a project about the Vietnam War due May 23rd, and I look through the options and bam, movie analysis. And then I start thinking. Alright. Okay, great. Thanks. Chief just called. He said this is it. I love Forrest Gump. I love it so much. My mom and I even went to Bubba Gump in Orlando last year just because it's both of our favorite movies.
Okay, hi, my name is Forrest Gump. Thanks for coming.
So doing this project and analyzing a part of the movie I never really dedicated much time to made me feel like I was watching it for the first time all over again. So let's all take a look and see how Forrest Gump really deals with the Vietnam War.
Look at.
Were you scared in Vietnam?
Yes. Why? I don't know.
In the movie, Forrest is recruited for the Vietnam War after graduating college. Being someone who isn't particularly the brightest, he decides to join the war since he doesn't know what to do now that he's no longer a student. He meets Bubba, a shrimper from Alabama, and Lieutenant Dan Taylor, the platoon's leader who believes his purpose in life is to die honorably in war. During an unexpected attack, Bubba dies from a wound and Lieutenant Dan is saved by Forrest and loses his legs. Forrest experiences what is called a $1 million wound, which gets him out of the war but doesn't cause him much damage. The effects of the war are noted throughout the movie, with one of the main effects being Forrest and Lieutenant Dan's injuries. Their difference is drastic in their life after the war is the same way. Forrest becomes an international ping pong champion who is given the Medal of Honor, while Lieutenant Dan becomes an unkempt alcoholic who seems to have never fully recovered physically and mentally. Only when he reconnects with Forrest after the war does Lieutenant Dan start thinking about life differently and begins a recovery.
I never thanked you for saving my life.
Vietnam veterans were treated poorly by many Americans upon their return due to the fact that it was a war that most people were against, making those fighting in it unpopular. This led to a lot of protests against the war itself and those fighting, effectively starting the hippie movement.
My name is Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump!
The scene just shown is from when Forrest returns from the war and unknowingly goes up on stage to speak at an anti-war protest where Jenny, his childhood best friend and later wife, meets up with him. This is an important reunion between the two characters, especially since before Forrest gets deployed, he sees Jenny one last time to say goodbye to her, and she gives him a piece of advice which he doesn't take.
Just if you're ever in trouble, don't try to be brave. You just run, okay? Just run away.
As stated earlier, Vietnam veterans weren't very well liked. The hippie movement, which Jenny became a part of after meeting her boyfriend, was booming in the late 60s to early 70s, and they promoted a life of peace rather than one of fighting in war. Some celebrities that could be considered hippies are Joni Mitchell, Jane Fonda, and Joan Baez. In 1969, John Lennon and Yoko Ono held another protest, this one called Abedin for Peace, where they stayed in bed for a week as a new way to promote peace.
I'm standing here because of an army of people who, over the course of a back-breaking schedule that was set by Bob Zemeckis, who worked much harder than I did and had much more at risk if our efforts were not successful.
Forrest Gump won 6 Oscars in 1995 and continues to be hailed as one of the best films of all time. When reading into the parts about the Vietnam War, you can see the attention to detail director Robert Zemeckis put into the movie. There have been debates whether Forrest Gump is a conservative pro-war film or totally one anti-war. Tom Hanks himself has said that the movie is non-judgmental, and I agree with the statement. Forrest does willingly sign up for war, but it shows the gritty realities behind it and all the controversy surrounding. Lieutenant Dan loses his legs and his best friend dies right in front of him, and Zemeckis doesn't gloss over any of that. In my opinion, it was done in a beautiful way, and it just makes me fall in love all over again.